So I'm Carlton Gordon. I am a manager at PricewaterhouseCoopers within our advisory practice, where I focus on people and organization type consulting. Growing up in Chicago, I grew up on the South Side. It was a very different experience back then than how Chicago is perceived right now. So when I was growing up, you had like certain gangs in the area and whatnot. You had a good sense of where you could go and where you probably shouldn't go. But one of the cool things that my dad actually brought to the table was, because he was such a social butterfly, he was actually one of the people who kind of schooled me on how to best navigate that scene. I would say, growing up here in Chicago, I came from a two-parent household. As I stated, my parents been together for 30 years. I also have a younger brother in my household. We're 5 years apart. So growing up here was fun, man. I love the city. Every chance I get, I've made my way back. The only time I've actually lived away from Chicago is for school. So for undergrad, I went to Morehouse College, where I majored in accounting. Also became part of one of the best fraternities on the planet, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. But then also for business school. I went away to the University of Michigan for business school. But every time I look back, there's always that little piece that I'm always missing, that little piece called home. So South Side of Chicago is always gonna be home for me. Morehouse, dear old Morehouse. So why don't I start with how I got there? So for me, I was what you would call a gifted student. So tested very well from K through 12. Here in Chicago, we had this thing called the Iowa Test of Basic Skills. So always score, maybe at senior level, like even maybe in sixth grade. So I actually got into a gifted program for high school, and from that gifted program, I realized that while I had been challenged academically, I hadn't really been challenged socially. So here in Chicago, you have, as a black man, for the most part, you think about one or two different routes. Either you're gonna go to school, you're gonna better yourself and get an education, or you're gonna go to the block, quite frankly. And so for me, the block really wasn't for me. I had a lot of friends who did it, which was cool. There's no knock there, but that just wasn't my style. So flash forward to my senior year of college. I was deciding what schools I wanted to go to, and actually a post-secondary counselor by the name of Palmer Pratt came into my life, and she pulled me to the side and she said, I wanted to take you on this college tour for HBCUs. So at that time I was considering going to a state school, but I said, hey, why not go check it out? What do I have to lose? So I go down to Atlanta, Georgia, where I first stepped foot on Morehouse's campus, and immediately I feel like I'm home. Being in an environment where there's about roughly 3,000 black men who are trying to accomplish something positive with their lives was something I'd never been exposed to before. Not in elementary school, not in high school. So that experience alone took me aback. It really kind of made me want to learn more. From there, walking around the campus and seeing all the rich history on Morehouse's campus, such as being able to sit in a classroom where Dr. King studied, or being able to stand on the pews of an area on campus where Samuel L. Jackson hung out. I think that was something that it was a little bit more to me than just a school, I guess. And the way they define that typically is the Morehouse mystique. I would definitely say the Morehouse mystique sold me on the school. And to this day, I look back and that's the best 4 years of my life, hands down. One of the other cool things about Morehouse College is it's in an area called the Atlanta University Center, which also offers collegiate opportunities at Spelman College, which is now a female school. It's actually right across the street, so that was kind of convenient back then. But then also Clark Atlanta University, which is just across the way. So having three great schools, especially great HBCUs, all in the radius of about 2 to 3 miles, was very impactful. You got a chance to not only network within, I got a chance not only to network within Morehouse, but I also got a chance to expand my network and build at Spelman, build at Clark Atlanta. And actually some of the friends that I have today still are friends that I built, that I initiated the relationship with back then. My mother always told me, like, hey, you can't come back here without a job. You gotta work to better yourself. Failure wasn't really an option in my household. So when I got to Morehouse and I started seeing so many guys who were looking at various internship opportunities, I woke up and said, wow, I need to get my stuff together and figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. I actually embarked upon a program called Inroads, which actually helped connect me to a wide variety of companies. And I actually ended up interning at a company here in Chicago called LaSalle Bank. So LaSalle Bank at the time was one of the biggest regional banks here in Chicago. Very rich roots here in Chicago. So for a guy like me who grew up here, loved my city, couldn't wait to get back, it was a perfect fit for me. I spent 2 summers there. I actually got offered a full-time opportunity to come back. And so to this day, I always thank Inroads for the opportunity to intern back home in my hometown. Some of the challenges that I faced going into the financial world were twofold, actually. So one was, just limited experience in the space, and being a young African-American male in that space, oftentimes you felt as if you had to prove yourself. I felt a lot of times that I had to prove my worth. I had to prove why a kid, a young kid from Chicago who went to Morehouse deserved this spot over some kid who went to a PWI or a private or public white institution. I think once I got into Bank of America, I came in with the mentality where I was going to impress, and doing anything less than that would be, just unjust for me as a human being at that time. I think I graduated Morehouse. I kind of came out on my high horse, made some pitfalls along the way, but I think that I really set a precedent within the bank in terms of what type of caliber of individual I was, and what type of caliber of individual comes from the Black community. I think as a result of while I was at Bank of America, I actually helped build a pipeline between my rotation program and Morehouse College, which actually brought in 3 to 5 other Black males from our school, as well as bringing in other Black males and females from respective HBCUs, such as like Fisk University or Florida A&M University, just to name a few. I thought that was I think I owed it to my community to really represent my community well. And I think sometimes that can become a bit of a weight on your shoulders. But the way I think about things is sometimes you're not brought into this world to be, normal. I think our community is not normal. We're very much a community that is, has a lot of talent, a lot of things that we can give to the world. And I think if you don't take advantage of that, you're selling yourself short and the community. So I think when I got started in the financial world, it was extremely important for me to leave my mark so that when I was being considered for opportunities for upward mobility, that it was never going to be, we're just moving up the Black guy. I want to be Carlton, and I want to be a person who happens to be Black. Ooh, how did I meet my wife? So it was New Year's Eve, 2007. My cousin and my wife are actually line sisters. They were both members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So New Year's Eve, my cousin brings this beautiful young girl home. Of course, I walk into my cousin's house and I pull my cousin to the side. I say, she's not related to us, is she? Of course, my cousin says no. So I was like, all right, you got to make the introduction then. I think from there, it was a little bit of casual conversation, nothing too big. But then, funny enough, my cousin and my wife Erin actually came down to Atlanta for spring break. And so once spring break rolled around, that's when I figured I'd go in for the kill. And the rest is history. Wow, man, birth of my son was probably the best day of my life. I think one of the things that I thought about even growing up was, man, I always want to have a son. I always thought about the relationship my dad and I have. Very much, he's not just my dad. I would consider my dad one of my best friends. He's one of my confidants. One of the people that I feel like I can go to and talk about anything, and I don't have to be perfect with. And so when I had my first son, I immediately thought, I can't wait to build that relationship with him. And even now, as he's older, I always feel like we have that very strong bond that no one can break. And I think there's a lot to be said about that relationship, especially within an African-American household. When I think about raising a Black son in the world today, I think I have to give him all, quite frankly. I think a lot of times, you hear about, dads who are not in the picture for whatever reason, whether it's, oh, I don't have my stuff together, or, I don't know how to be a father. And while those may be very valid concerns, I think in this present time, there's no better value than to actually be present in your child's life, especially right now. In the wake of things that have happened in Minnesota as well as in Dallas, I think that it's equally as important to make sure that your children are being brought up and being countlessly interacting with positive Black influences. I think that growing up, I was actually exposed to quite a few like entrepreneurs, as well as people who are within like a corporate space, or just generally having a positive mindset about things. I think people tend to forget how valuable getting that mindset is to actually success. If when I was growing up, my economics teacher told me that, if you don't believe that you can do better, you'll never get to where you want to go. And I think that still holds true today. If I can instill those types of values within my family, within my sons, and even, my wife and I tend to hold each other accountable and, work as a united front to raise our kids. I think if you can instill that type of value system in your family, within your household, and even within your extended family, I think it'll make much more of a difference than one might think. If I were to give someone advice on how to pursue their dreams, I would say, first, don't get discouraged if you don't know what that dream is yet. Live life and seek experiences. Experiences will help shape you into the person that you become later on down the line. And I think that's one of the things that I really value about my life experience so far, is whether it be my professional experience as well as my personal experience growing as a Black man. I would also say, always take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. So whether it's making an informal or formal contact with someone, or, going to an event that may be beneficial to you in some way, shape, or form. I would say make sure you take advantage of the opportunities as they're presented, because you never know when that door will open again for you. I think in my path to success, I would actually say that, the other thing is, don't forget where you come from. Regardless of where you end up, whether you're an investment banker or whether you're a top chef somewhere, or whether you're a consultant like me, just don't forget where you came from. And don't forget that, the roots that were embedded within you as you were progressing through your life got you to this point. And they all had some sort of value to you. So don't forget that. Make sure you stay involved with your family. Make sure you stay involved with the community as well in some way. I would also say that not everyone contributes in the same way. So don't get caught up in, being, I'm not a community activist, so I can't have an impact on my community. There's certain tools that everyone has. Everyone has a gift. Everyone has something they can reinvest back into the world. So don't limit yourself by keeping your gift internal.